In this video, we'll be studying about the methods of curing. So there are four methods of curing, starting from water curing, membrane curing, application of heat, as well as miscellaneous. So in water curing, once again there are four types, starting from immersion, ponding, spraying, and wet covering. In membrane curing, so there are different types of membranes that we are using, and in the application of heat there are once again four types, that is ordinary pressure steam curing, then high pressure steam curing, and electrical curing, and infrared radiation curing. So totally there are different methods of curing. Based on the required site condition, we can able to adopt these kinds of curing in order to get the complete hydration of cement. So first we'll go with the water curing. So water curing is one of the best method of curing because it satisfies all the requirements like progressive hydration, then required maintaining the required temperature, then removing of shrinkage cracks or other cracks. So since water curing it satisfies all these requirements like promotion of hydration, that is progressive of hydration, then elimination of shrinkage cracks, and absorption heat of hydration, that is maintaining the required temperature. Since it satisfies all these requirements, then water curing is the best method of curing. And also, even if you are adopting membrane curing, before doing before placing the membrane on the top of the concrete surface, so we have to do the water curing also. So water curing is done initially, then above, on the top of the water curing, we have to cover the concrete with the membrane. So even if you adopt a membrane curing, initially you have to do the water curing, then you can do the membrane curing. So as I already told, there are different types of water curing: immersion, ponding, spraying or fogging, and wet covering. So immersion curing, so you can see in the top first picture, top left, where the immersion tank will be created, a temporary immersion tank will be created, or a permanent immersion tank will be created. On the immersion tank, we are placing a precast concrete items or concrete cubes or cylinders or beams. So these kinds of immersion tank can be used for a laboratory purpose. Yeah, you can see these kinds of temporary or permanent immersion tanks in the laboratories or in the RMC plants. So where we are placing precast concrete items and concrete cubes and beams, cylinders, etc. You can see in the top right picture, that is the ponding. So ponding is usually adopted for pavement slabs or for a roof slab. So these pavement or roof slabs are covered under the water by making a small ponds. You can see a small pond of some thickness will be created on top of the slab. By creating a small ponds, these kinds of curing can be done for roof slab as well as for the pavement slab. On the below left, you can see spraying of water. Most of you have seen this kinds of spraying of water. So spraying of water is usually used for the retaining vertical retaining wall, or for concrete columns, or for a normal wall, or on the plastered surface. You can see spraying of water which is done to cure the concrete surface. In some cases, like you can see wet coverings can be done by means of a gunny bags or by means of jute matting or hessian cloth. So these kinds are wrapped on the vertical surface for keeping the concrete wet. Even wet covering can also be adopted. So these are some of the four methods of water curing. I hope most of you have seen the any of these kinds of curing to keep the concrete surface moist.
Water curing of concrete. Water curing is the best method of curing as it fulfills all the requirements of curing, such as hydration of cement, elimination of shrinkage, and absorption of the heat of hydration. Water curing is generally done in different ways, such as immersion, ponding, spraying or fogging, and wet covering. The type of water curing is adopted based on the requirements of concrete. That is, the precast concrete items are typically immersed in curing tanks for a certain duration. Ponding is adopted for pavement slabs, roof slab, etc. Spraying or fogging is done on a vertical retaining wall or plastered surfaces or concrete columns, etc. In some cases, wet coverings such as wet gunny bags, hessian cloth, jute matting, straw, etc. are wrapped to a vertical surface for keeping the concrete wet. Apart from these, for horizontal surfaces, sawdust, earth or sand are also used as a wet covering to keep the concrete in wet condition for a longer time so that the concrete is not unduly dried to prevent hydration. These are all the methods adopted for water curing. Thank you.
So I hope we understood about the water curing and its different methods of water curing also. So next we'll go into the membrane curing. So membrane curing is usually done uh, at a place where there is a shortage of water, or where there is curing is not possible due to the application of water. If there is any shortage where curing is not possible, in that case we can able to adopt the membrane curing. And also curing is does not mean only application of water. So there is a technical reason behind doing the curing also. Curing does not means only adding water to the concrete surface. In order to create uninterrupted and progressive hydration, so in order to get this complete cement particles hydrated, we have to do the curing process. Okay, so we should not stop the curing process before the cement particles get hydrated. So that leads to decrease in strength and durability. So we should make sure that there is no interruption in the hydration. We should make sure that the hydration is continued till all cement particles gets uh, hydrated, so that we have to do the curing process. Not only it is not application of water. So there is a technical reason behind this. So for this reason, uh, concrete could be covered with a membrane, so which will effectively seal off the operation from the concrete. So these membrane will be covered on top of the concrete surface, so that it will effectively stops the evaporation of water from the concrete. So sometimes when concrete is placed in the remote places, or it's far off places where there is a difficulty in doing the curing regularly, and when there is a shortage of water, so these kinds of membrane curing can be adopted at that location. So even concrete of curing is very important. It has to be properly supervised, because it will affects the hardened property of the concrete in the later stages. So that's why curing has to be properly supervised. So sometimes this curing process will not be properly supervised by the workers who is there. So because you'll be not knowing about the curing, why we have to do this regularly, what is the importance of doing a regular curing. So you'll be not knowing those kinds of reasons. Okay, so in that case it is suitable to adopt a membrane curing. So rather than leaving a complete responsibility to the workers who is who has given a responsibility of curing, so instead of depending on him, so we can adopt membrane curing rather than giving a responsibility to the person who is doing the curing. In that case we can adopt a membrane curing. So the idea of doing this membrane curing is to continuously seal the concrete surface by means of a impervious film, so that the water will not percolate, so that water is not observed to the evaporation. So the idea is to completely seal over the concrete surface by means of a impervious film, to prevent the moisture in the concrete uh, but is without escaping of concrete by evaporation to prevent the moisture in the concrete. So we have to cover the entire surface with the impervious layer. So what are the materials that can be used for the membrane curing? So we can use bitumen compounds, we can use polyethylene or polyester film, that is a polyester or polyethylene layers, and waterproof papers or rubber compounds, etc. So these are some of the materials that can be used for the membrane curing. Other than these materials, they will use curing compounds also. So in the market there is availability of the curing compounds where there is a shortage of water, or where curing can't be done regularly. So at that places we can use these kinds of membrane or curing compounds, so that we don't require water also, because nowadays there is a shortage of water. So we have to conserve the water for the future generations. In that case, even if we found using these membrane and curing compounds which is costly compared to that of a water curing, these kinds of done is quite costly, but since water has to be conserved, these kinds of membrane technique and curing compounds technique can be adopted in the site. Even if we adopt these kinds of membrane technique, we don't require our laborers to continuously monitored. So by using this membrane or by using curing compound, curing will done by itself. So there is no requirement of a labor who continuously monitor this. So we can save the amount, we can use the amount to get these kinds of membrane and compounds by saving the amount for the laborers. In this case we can use the membrane curing also. Okay, but generally speaking is whatever the water that we use to keep the concrete mixed, so that amount of water is enough to make the complete cement particles hydrated. But since we are placing a concrete, or since we are dealing against with the nature, so we have to place the concrete sometimes outside, or even at the inside. When we are placing a concrete, so we are placing against the nature, so definitely some amount of water will be lost from the body of the concrete. So that's why we have to do the curing. Otherwise, whatever the water that we use to mix the concrete, that amount of water is quite sufficient to get all the particles hydrated. Since water gets evaporated from the concrete surface, so the complete hydration will not going to happen. In that case we have to do the curing also. So these are some of the pictures you can see. So first picture you can see curing compounds, so it is just like a paint. Okay, on top of the concrete surface they are going to do that, that is a curing compounds. Second picture you can see they are spraying a water. So before we place the membrane also, first we have to do the water curing by spraying the concrete surface, then on top of it we have to place the membrane, any suitable membrane, depend on the availability we can use the membrane. And the bottom picture also you can see, first they have placed the gunny bags for the water curing. Initially they have to do the water curing, on top of it they have to place the membranes. So this is how the membrane curing is done in the site.
Membrane curing of concrete. In some places where there is an acute shortage of water, water curing may not be possible for reasons of economy. We know that curing of concrete is done as water added in the concrete gets evaporated after being placed. If water curing is not possible, covering with a membrane will effectively seal off the evaporation of water from concrete. However, a small amount of water is sprayed before covering with the membrane. There are large number of sealing compounds developed in recent years. Some of the common materials used are bituminous compounds, polyethylene or polyester film, waterproof paper, rubber compounds, etc. Initially, the bituminous compound was being used for this purpose. As bituminous compound is black in color, it absorbs heat from the concrete when converted to the top surface of the concrete. This results in the increase of temperature in the body of concrete, which is undesirable. Thus, other modified materials which are not black in color came in use. However, bituminous compound coated with lime is being used as lime wash prevents heat absorption. To obtain best results, a small amount of water is sprayed before covering with the membrane. Normally, 2 or 3 coats may be required for effective sealing of the surface to prevent the evaporation of water. The reason for large use of membrane curing is due to increase in volume of construction, shortage of water, need for conservation of water, increase in cost of labor, and availability of effective curing compounds. Membrane curing is commonly preferred for curing canal lining, sloping roofs, and textured surface of concrete pavements. In case of waterproofing, paper or polyethylene film are used as the membrane. Sufficient care must be taken to see there is no puncture. In membrane curing, it should be checked that whether adequate lapping is given at the junction and these laps are effectively sealed. Thank you for watching.
So I hope you understood about the membrane curing. So next we'll go to the next type of curing, that is application of heat curing. So the development of a strength not only depends on the time but also on the temperature. Okay, when concrete is subjected to high temperature, it accelerates the hydrating process, which results in the development of a strength. Okay, concrete subjected to dry heat uh, to accelerate the hydration process, as presence of moisture is also essential in the concrete. So, as you all know, concrete is not, the strength of the concrete is not a function only on the time but also on the temperature. When concrete is subjected to high temperature, then the hydration process will be more. Okay, but when you give the dry heat to the concrete, so because of the moisture which is present over there in the concrete, so that moisture will be completely lost because of this dry heat. Okay, so when you do the when you so when the concrete is subjected to a high temperature or due to the dry heat, even the presence of moisture is also very much essential in the concrete. Okay, so there should be moisture also present in the concrete, and also there should be high temperature. So if you think by giving a high temperature to the concrete, yes, definitely the hydration process will get increased. It accelerates the hydration process, and also it gives the strength development will be faster. Okay, but the moisture which is present in the concrete will be completely lost because of the dry heat. Okay, so we have to make sure that the concrete has to subject it to a high temperature, and also there should be required wetness has to be maintained. Even by subjecting the concrete to high temperature, we should maintain the required wetness. So this can be achieved by the steam curing. Okay, so steam curing is done. So as the word says, steam curing, so the temperature will be also more. When this temperature when the steam curing is done, certain amount of moisture also will be present in the concrete. Okay, if you only give the when you only if the concrete is subjected only to the temperature, then there will be no amount of water present in it, so it is not a good method of doing a curing process. Okay, so when the concrete is subjected to high temperature, there should be a certain amount of moisture present in the concrete surface also. So this can be done by means of a steam curing. So steam curing keeps the surface moist and raises the temperature of the concrete, so that there is a strength of requirement can be achieved in a faster way, and also it is very quick. So steam curing is nothing but we have to keep the surface moist, and at the same time the temperature also will be improved in order to get the good rate of strength. So it is a process done to speed up the early hardening of the concrete by subjecting it into steam and humidity. When the concrete is subjected to steam, so there'll be temperature also will be more in that, and also the on the concrete surface there will be a sufficient moisture present also. So steam curing does not uh, gives only with respect to the, it is not only having economical advantages, but also it has some technical advantages, especially in the preparation of prefabrication concrete elements. So in those kinds of precast concrete items, in the especially in the precast plants, so instead of adopting membrane or water curing, they will go for a steam curing, because they will be manufacturing these precast items in a bulk. So they will not go for water curing, or they will not wait for water curing to do for sufficient amount of days, or membrane curing. So they have to get the strength very fast. Okay, so they have, since they have to manufacture large number of products, okay, in a bulk, so they have the strength requirement has to get very fast. Okay, so in those kinds of precast concrete industries, they will adopt these kinds of steam curing. So one more time I'll repeat, steam curing is nothing but it keeps the surface moist, and also it raises the temperature of the concrete to get the rate of strength in a quick manner. Okay.
Curing by application of heat. We all know that the development of strength of concrete is not only depends on the time but also the temperature of the surroundings. Thus, when the concrete is subjected to a higher temperature, it accelerates the hydration process, resulting in faster retaining of strength. As the presence of moisture is essential, the concrete cannot be subjected to dry heat to accelerate the hydration process. Therefore, subjecting the concrete to the higher temperature and meanwhile maintaining the required wetness can be achieved by any process of steam curing, infrared curing, or electrical curing. As this method of curing makes the concrete to attain strength faster. Thus, it has many advantages such as accelerated setting time, the time required for curing is less, etc. But this method is most commonly adopted in the curing of prefabricated elements. The different methods of curing by application of heat are: steam curing at ordinary pressure.
So there are different methods of steam curing. We'll study all these four methods one by one. So types of steam curing, that is steam curing at ordinary temperature, steam curing at high pressure, then electrical curing, and curing by infrared radiation. So these are the uh, four types of steam curing. So steam curing at ordinary temperature. So this method is adopted. Most of these four methods have to is adopted for prefabricated concrete elements. Okay. So this kind of steam curing is very much difficult to do it in the site. Okay. So it has to be done by means of thick polyethylene sheets, but the rate of strength obtained is not beneficial. So in the concrete prefabricated industry, so if you go for preparing beams or walls and all, so for those kind of thing, say since it is done in a maintained temperature, that is a surrounding maintained temperature, so you can able to achieve a good strength in the factories. Okay, so in those cases these kinds of steam curing is quite be economical compared to these kinds of steam curing is done. If it is done in the site, it will be a very difficult task to do the steam curing, because this has to be done in a closed chamber. So if you do it in the closed chamber, then the steam curing, they means the effectiveness of the steam curing will be more if you do it in the closed chamber. If you do the if you do it in the outside, that is in the concrete, in the outside environment, then the efficiency of the steam curing will not be good. That's why the rate of strength also develop. The rate of strength which is going to develop is not beneficial if you do the steam curing in the site. But if you do the steam curing in the closed chamber, especially in the prefabricated industry, then the required amount of strength you can able to obtain.
Steam curing at ordinary pressure. Steam curing at ordinary pressure is generally adopted for prefabricated concrete elements. The application of steam curing in construction site will be a little difficult task. However, steam curing at site is done by forming a steam jacket with the help of tarpaulin or thick polyethylene sheets. But it is found to be inefficient in site. Steam curing at ordinary pressure is done on prefabricated elements stored in a chamber. The chamber should be big enough to hold a day's production. The door is closed and steam is applied either continuously or intermittently. The accelerated hydration takes place at the higher temperature and the concrete products attain the 28 days strength of normal concrete in about 3 days.
So as I already told, the steam curing has to be done in a closed chamber. So there should be sufficient amount of place should be there, so that all the precast elements have to be cured at a single stretch. Because as I already told, these kinds of done, especially done in the prefabricated industry, where the quantity required of say electric poles or sleepers, it will be quite more. So you cannot do steam curing for every single sleeper. So if you take it in a box chamber, that box chamber should able to contain more number of concrete sleepers or railway that is railway sleepers or concrete poles, so that at a single stretch we can able to give the steam, that is steam curing can be done at a single stretch for more number of concrete elements. So if you do the steam curing, whatever the required amount of strength that you used to get at 28 days, you will able to get the strength by 3 days.
In large prefabricated factories, they have tunnel curing range.
So this is a box chamber where more number of concrete elements can be placed at a inside the box chamber, so that we can provide a steam curing at a single stretch. So next we'll move on to the high pressure steam curing. So high pressure steam curing is something different compared to that of ordinary steam curing. So in this steam curing is done also in the closed chamber. So the superheated steam at high temperature and also at a high pressure. There in the first case there was a high temperature but ordinary pressure. Okay, so in this there is a high temperature and high pressure steam curing. Okay, so since it has both high temperature and high pressure, so those kinds of superheated steam will be developed at high temperature as well as at the high pressure. So this process is called as autoclaving. So this process is practiced in the curing of precast products in the factory, especially for a lightweight concrete products. So whatever the high pressure steam curing, that is whatever we get the strength at 28 days. So because of high pressure steam curing, we can able to get the strength in 1 day or less than 1 day also. So these kinds of high pressure steam curing gives a good resistance to the sulfate attack as well as for the chemical action, and also it will resist the shrinkage cracks present in the concrete also. So compared to high pressure or at ordinary temperature, high temperature can be used for a prefabricated elements. In the in this high pressure steam curing, so we have studied about uh, ordinary pressure steam curing. That is, in the steam curing at atmospheric temperature, the temperature will be naturally is around 100 degree centigrade. So in this kind of steam curing at ordinary temperature, the steam gets converted into a water. uh, in this way it can also be called as a hot water curing, and this can be done in a open atmosphere. Whereas in the high pressure steam curing is something different from the ordinary steam curing. Here also the steam curing is done at a closed chamber, but it is high pressure and also at a high temperature. So this superheated steam at high pressure and high pressure is applied on the concrete surface. This process is called as autoclaving, where superheated steam of ordinary at high temperature and high pressure is applied on the concrete surface. So this process is usually carried out in the precast concrete products, especially in the factory, and also particularly for lightweight concrete products. These kind of high pressure, high temperature steam curing is done. So this whatever the curing, if we done by high pressure, that is high pressure steam curing. So whatever the strength that is obtained at 20 days in a normal curing, we can able to obtain the strength in 1 day or less than so in the high pressure steam curing. So here it is also used, so that if we use this kinds of high pressure steam curing, so it results in the resistance to sulfate attack, and also it can able to resist the chemical action also. And also high pressure steam curing helps to exhibit a lower drying shrinkage, and also it can also exhibit lower moisture movement on the concrete surface. So these are some of the advantages of high pressure steam curing.
Steam curing of concrete at high pressure. The high-pressure steam curing is carried out in a closed chamber. The precast elements are placed in the closed chamber under superheated steam at high pressure, and high temperature is applied to the concrete. This process is also called autoclaving. The autoclaving process is done for curing precast concrete products in the factories. Most probably, lightweight concrete products are cured by this method. The advantages of high-pressure steam curing are: the concrete can be cured in 1 day or less to obtain 28 days strength of normal concrete. The concrete cured in this method exhibits higher resistance to sulfate attack, freezing and thawing action, and chemical action. Also, the concrete exhibits lower drying shrinkage and moisture movement. In high-pressure steam curing, the concrete is subjected to a maximum temperature of 175 degrees Celsius, which corresponds to a steam pressure of about 8.5 kilograms/square cm. High-pressure steam-cured concrete is somewhat brittle and whitish in color. Thank you for watching.
So that is regarding the high pressure steam curing. So next we'll move on to the electrical curing. So this method of electrical curing is usually applied in the cold climatic regions. So this kind of electrical curing is not suitable for ordinary climatic conditions, because it is not economical to be used in the ordinary climate conditions, and also it is quite expensive. So that's why this kind of curing is usually adopted in the cold climatic regions rather than the ordinary climate regions. And also here the concrete can be cured by passing an electric current. So you can see the name. So it is called as electrical curing. So here concrete can be cured by means of an So here concrete can be cured by passing an electric current between the uh, through the concrete between the electrodes, so on which is applied to the surface of the concrete. So this is how the electrical curing can be done to the concrete. So here we have to make sure that the moisture has been prevented on the surface. Required amount of moisture is prevented on the surface when we are doing an electric curing.
Electrical curing of concrete. Electrical curing of concrete is widely adopted in very cold climatic regions. Besides, usage of this method in ordinary climatic conditions is found to be uneconomic. In this method, the concrete is cured by passing an alternating current through the concrete between two electrodes in the form of plates placed entire area of the opposite sides. The potential difference between the plates is maintained as 30 volt or 60 volt. Sufficient care must be taken to prevent the complete escape of moisture from the concrete. By electrical curing method, the concrete can attain the normal 28 days strength in a period of 3 days. However, this method is rarely adopted as it is expensive. Thank you for watching.
So that is regarding the curing by electrical current. So next, curing by infrared radiation. So here also this kind of curing is practiced in the cool climatic regions because it is quite helpful over there, whereas it is normally it is not used in the other regions because of the economical issue, and also it is quite expensive. Whereas this kind of curing can be done for hollow concrete products, that is where the concrete there is a hollow spacing on the concrete blocks, so those are called as hollow concrete blocks. So this kind of curing can be adopted for hollow concrete products where an operating temperature of around 90 degrees centigrade can be used for uh, curing the concrete. So here curing can be done by means of an infrared radiations.
Curing of concrete by infrared radiation. Curing of concrete by infrared radiation is generally done by the application of infrared to the concrete. In this method, the strength of concrete can be gained faster than in the steam curing methods. The initial high temperature given to the concrete does not cause any decrease in the ultimate strength. This method of curing is commonly adopted for curing of hollow concrete products. The heaters are placed in the hollow space presented in the concrete products. The normal operative temperature of this method is about 90 degrees Celsius. Thank you for watching. Stay
So that is regarding the curing by infrared radiations. So thus we have completed the methods of curing. So we have studied about water curing, membrane curing, and the applications by heat. So next we'll go on to the important, that is the duration of curing. So what is the amount of duration that we have to do the curing process, uh, and uh, for normally what number of days we have to do the curing. So we'll study on that. So concrete should not be allowed to dry in any of the conditions. So concrete should be sufficiently moisture. It should not be kept dry. If it is kept dry, then you know what are the things that going to happen. The strength and durability will be affected. So concrete should not be allowed to dry in any of the conditions. So here, once the shuttering is removed, once the formwork is removed, so we have to do the curing for 24 hours by means of a gunny bags. Then we can able to commence the water curing by ponding or by sprinkling method. So that is the best practice. Next, concrete can be cured for a longer time. So if you do the concrete curing for longer time, it increases the strength and durability of the concrete members. You can see in the diagram over there on the right side. So there you can see the maximum amount of strength that is obtained, that is around 50% of the strength is obtained around 3 to 7 days of concreting. That is, you can see 50% of the strength is obtained around 3 to 7 days, and 75% of the strength is obtained around 14 days, and 90% of the maximum strength is be obtained around 28 days. So, 90% of the strength will be obtained at 28 day. After that, the curing process, the rate of increase of strength will be at a decreasing rate, but the maximum will be obtained at 28 days, and 50% of the strength, 50 to 60% of the strength will be obtained at 7 days. So the curing period varies for different situations, different structures, and also at a different atmospheric conditions. The curing period varies. So early strength of concrete is more important and is responsible for the ultimate strength of concrete. So whatever the strength that we obtained at 3 to 7 days, because 60% of the strength will be obtained around 3 to 7 days. So the early strength is more important so that we can able to know what will be the ultimate strength of the concrete. So 3 to 7 day, whatever the strength that we get, it is very important because it gives around 50 to 60% of the ultimate strength. So the temperature that we use to keep the temperature, in order to maintain the temperature in the concrete surface, it should not be cooler than 5 degrees centigrade. It should be the temperature that we use to keep the uh, when we are doing curing, the temperature that is used to be maintained should not be less than 5 degrees centigrade. It should be more than 5 degrees centigrade. And the minimum period that we use for curing concrete to attain maximum strength is 28 days. As I already told, 90% of the strength will be obtained at 28 days. So the minimum period for curing concrete in order to get a maximum strength is 28 days. But due to the lack of time nowadays, faster construction has to be done because we don't have much of time. So due to the lack of time, because and also due to the improvement of the uh, technology in the construction industry, because of the modern techniques, we can able to get the required strength around 14 to 20 days. Whatever the strength that we used to get in 28 day, with the help of the modern techniques, we can able to achieve those strength in within 14 to 20 days. But the minimum time that is recommended to keep the concrete moist is around at least 14 days. So as per IS 456 2000, the IS standard specifies that the concrete should not be cured less than 7 days. It should be more than 7 days for ordinary Portland cement, and it should be minimum of 10 days for the concrete. If we use any mineral admixtures or any blended cements, then we should keep the concrete surface cured for minimum of 10 days. In case of hot weather and hot very dry temperature, in case of ordinary Portland cement, we should able to cure at least for 10 days and minimum of 14 days for the blended cements. So these are the IS standards specified. I'll repeat: 7 days for ordinary Portland cement and 10 days for a blended cements. But in case of hot weather and very dry wind, that is very dry temperature conditions, then 10 days for ordinary Portland cement and 14 days for the blended cements. So this is regarding the curing and the different methods of curing. I hope you have understood. If you have any doubt, you can ask me through comment section. Thank you.